So we know that if a child is in foster care that they were removed for some reason, so neglect or any kind of abuse could have occurred. And so, of course, that disruption and leaving their birth family is a trauma. You know, we say that any move a child makes, so say they're removed from their birth family, that could be a regression of 6 months. And so then they're placed in a new home of people that they don't know. Of course, we're looking for kinship placements, and kinship just being maybe a family member or someone that the child already has a pre-existing relationship with. So that could be a teacher, someone in church, a neighbor, or a family friend. So when that happens, that's better because they already have that relationship with them. Of course, that's a transition in itself because those dynamics shift because you're no longer just grandma, you're mom and dad, and you are disciplining me also and not just baking cookies with me. So of course there's shifts in the dynamics when we have a kinship placement, but ultimately it's better because that relationship's there. So say it's not a kinship placement, just a traditional foster home. The child is being removed from their birth family and going and living with a family that they don't know. So that's just confusing in itself. I mean, I'm an adult, and each time I move, I don't fully unpack each time, you know, and so it's hard to even adjust whenever we're not having to, it's hard to even adjust to new surroundings and not even a new family. So they're having to go into these homes and adjust to new family, new people, maybe a new school, new roles, maybe siblings, and they weren't used to having siblings. So that's an adjustment in itself, and adding in the trauma piece. So not only do we expect them to adjust to a new home, new school, all of those things I just mentioned, but also trying to navigate their trauma and their trauma responses. So we have a lot of kids that are engaging in what we call survival behaviors. And so what that is simply is just ways that kids have learned to meet their own needs. And now that they are removed from a situation where they don't have to meet their own needs, those behaviors still exist. So for example, if they come from a neglectful home, we might have some food hoarding because in that home they had to hoard food in order to eat. So that makes sense of why that behavior existed. But now they're in a foster home and they have food, and they're being taken care of, and those behaviors still exist. Think of another one could be separation anxiety, perhaps. So maybe mom and dad weren't there all the time, and so the child would try to spend as much time with them as possible because if I'm with you, you can't leave me. And so now they're in a foster home and so engaging in some of those behaviors. So again, the child's trying to adjust to being away from their parents, trying to make sense of why they're not with their parents, because a lot of kids, depending on their age and cognitive ability, might internalize the reason for the removal, especially if they told someone about abuse that was happening, and we don't know what parents are saying. Sometimes parents will say, well, you shouldn't have told anyone, or if you didn't tell anyone, you'd still be with me. So there's that piece, and then also the adjustment to a foster home and the trauma of just that whole experience, and then the reason for the removal. So it's a lot that they're going through and adjusting to. And it's difficult for everyone all across the board, the birth family, because the changes in the dynamics, just visitation is maybe happening, the child, and also for foster families and trying to navigate that change, you know, from maybe having no kids in your home to now having a teenager that has some intense behaviors. So it's a lot of adjustment for everybody, and it's very difficult.